Our gospel today is from Mark chapter 5, verses 21 to 43.
Glory to you, O Lord.
When Jesus had crossed again in the boat to the other side, a great crowd gathered around him, and he was by the sea. Then one of the leaders of the synagogue, named Jairus, came, and when he saw him, he fell down at his feet and begged him repeatedly, "My little daughter is on the point of death. Come, lay your hands on her so that she may be made well and live." So he went with him, and a large crowd followed and pressed in on him. Now there was a woman who had been suffering from hemorrhages for 12 years. She had endured much under many physicians and had spent all that she had and was no better, but rather was worse. She had heard about Jesus and came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak. For she said, "If I but touch his clothes, I will be made well." Immediately her hemorrhage stopped, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her disease. Immediately aware that power had gone out from him, Jesus turned to the crowd and said, "Who touched my clothes?" And the disciples said to him, "You see the crowd pressing in on you. How can you say, 'Who touched me?'" He looked around to see who had done it. But the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came in fear and trembling and fell down before him and told him the whole truth. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease." While he was still speaking, some people came from the leader's house to say, "Your daughter is dead. Why trouble the teacher any further?" But overhearing what they said, Jesus said to the leader of the synagogue, "Do not fear, only believe." And he allowed no one except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. When they came to the house of the leader of the synagogue, he saw the commotion, people weeping and wailing loudly. When he had entered, he said to them, "Why do you make such a commotion and weep? The child is not dead, but sleeping." And they laughed at him. Then he put them all outside, and he took the child's father and mother and those who were with him and went to where the girl was. And he took her by the hand and said, "Talith kum," which means, "Little girl, get up." And immediately the girl got up and began to walk around. She was 12 years of age. At this they were overcome with amazement, and he strictly ordered them that they should tell no one of this, and told them to give her something to eat. The Gospel of our Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Please be seated. Talith kum. Little girl, get up. It's one of the lines it's one of the phrases, one of the things Jesus says. It's so important it doesn't get translated into English. It remains in Aramaic. It's one of the commands of hope that Jesus gives us. Little girl, get up. Our text today surround a feeling of desperation. They talk about times when we are overwhelmed, when it's too much, when life has given us more than we can handle. In Lamentations, we hear about people who are weeping and wailing and grieving the loss of their homes, refugees, foreigners, displaced by war, feeling abandoned and outcast. their faith. In our Corinthians text, we hear of great economic injustice, of people in communities starving, unable to feed themselves and their children, unable to care for themselves, unable to live lives of wholeness and health because they don't have the resources or the means to do it. And in our gospel text, we hear of people battling illnesses to the point of death, chronic disease that you spend all your time and money fighting and it doesn't get better. And the best you manage to do is slow it down and it still gets worse. Or parents watching their children suffer and die and feeling helpless to stop it. These are moments of overwhelming grief. Has much changed? In the biblical era, we read about refugees. In our newspapers, we read about people displaced by war, disaster, famine, hunger. In the biblical era, we hear about how there's economic injustice, how some have a lot and some have nothing, and how we are called to be in relationship across that divide, sharing what we have, not to the point where we ourselves have nothing, but to the point where all have enough. It's a phrase when I'm talking to the youth, I call it the equitable redistribution of wealth. I know, I sound a little socialist right now. I'm sorry. And as a pastor, I have walked with so many people. And I know you have too, because this is a congregation that walks with people as they have fought illnesses and grieved loved ones. As they have fought the battle and wondered if there was hope. Our biblical texts enter these times of overwhelming grief with a word of power and hope. A word that says, these forces, no matter how strong they are not the strongest things in our world. This is not the true power of the world, but rather God is the true power of the world. This is our Father's world, created and made by Him and held in His love. And we are called not to despair in the face of these challenges, but rather to walk together with God and with each other, knowing that there is hope. This past week has been all about accompaniment at our companion synod of Honduras, teaching children that we in northern Minnesota are not the only ones fighting disease and poverty, fighting for equitable redistribution of wealth, fighting to provide hope, and lifting up and praising God for His presence in the midst of our lives. We have partners all around the world. The ELCA is partners with 65 synods. And when we say partners, we mean partners. We don't mean going in and us telling them how to do things and giving them money to do it. But we mean walking with them, kneeling in their homes, praying at their bedsides, and having them come here and pray at ours. I have walked with Josefina Santos in into the homes of people who are sick and dying in Honduras, and she has walked into the homes of the sick and dying in northern Minnesota. So has Bishop Martin, and so has General Secretary Rudy Flores. I have prayed for the children of La Piñata preschool and the children of Honduras with the children of St. Andrews countless times, and prayed for the children of St. Andrews with the children of Honduras. What our gospel texts are talking about, what Jesus is saying, Jesus feels power leave him. And he doesn't just say, okay, the problem's fixed, it's done, I can ignore it. He turns around, he acknowledges it. He says, it's not just about fixing the problem, it's about the relationship. And he acknowledges the woman, and he blesses her, and praises her for her faith. It says, go, you've been made whole. Our texts today aren't just about things happening and being done with. They're about walking together in accompaniment. They're about sharing ministry and about being a body of faith that works together. One of my favorite things about Vacation Bible School is that it takes over 30 people from this congregation to make it happen. And that's the bare minimum. That's not counting the planning, the donating, the resource gathering. That's not planning the people who bring in snacks and resources and go shopping. But what happens when it all comes together is 50 kids spend a week running around this church, learning about how God is at work in their world and learning about how God is working in them. While they're here, they bring in their coins and their little offerings, and they collect over $250 of their wealth to share with their brothers and sisters in Honduras. That's right, share with Honduras. Very good. Muy bueno. While they're here, the congregation collects enough resources for the kids to assemble 80 kits that contain bars of soap and combs and toothbrushes and nail clippers, the tools of basic human cleanliness. Think about the refreshing nature of a shower, of wiping your face with a clean towel, brushing your teeth and combing your hair. Those tools are assembled into 80 kits that are shipped out to refugees, the people from Lamentations, the people from Syria, the people who have been driven from their homes and now live in tents with nothing for years on end. The kids assemble these kits and pray over them and send their love to these people. And these people are sending their love back. That is the amazing power of God. That's the brilliance and the beauty of the church. Is that every member of it, here and around the world, is doing something. And that from the volunteer who goes to visit someone in the hospital, to the person sitting in the nursery, to the person dropping off apples and peeling them in the kitchen, to the person putting on the coffee this afternoon, or morning. Might be afternoon if I keep going much longer. They're all coming together and sharing that love. And God's healing and hope flows into the world despite the darkness and the grief. That's what this is about. That's church. I realize that this is going to make my sermon a little long, and I promise to pray short, which is hard for me to make up for it. But I really want to show you what happened here at St. Andrews this week. Don Jenkins made a video of the pictures from our week, and I want you to see what happened here between Monday and Friday, and to know that you are a part of it. Just like you will be a part of the youth going on their mission trip in 2 weeks, just like you are a part of every visitation in the hospital, just like you are a part of little Tyler's life as he prepares to be baptized, just as you are a part of everything that God does through his church. So I'm going to walk down there now, which I should have done a minute ago, because then I think I've been warming this up while I was giving that really nice introduction to this video, instead of vamping. But this is what we spent our week doing. I hope the computer does not decide when it's good time to start. It was working this morning, and about 20 of you saw that. There you go. Okay. All right, Brooke, my computer cord is on my desk in my office running with it. We're going to try and play this, and hopefully it will go and not die.
I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Down in my heart. Down in my heart. I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Down in my heart to stay. I've got the love of Jesus down in my heart. Down in my heart. Down in my heart. I've got the love of Jesus down in my heart.
All right, well, the computer died. You get an idea. I'm sorry. Our week was filled with that, though. And if anybody wants to after worship, I will get my cord and fix it. Yeah, that's the wrong one. I think it's actually on the computer, on the thing in the fireside room. Everything's a mess because of this. That's the other thing I love about VBS is literally everything is a mess during it, and then Friday, all of us just get shoved into my office in the Sunday school rooms because that's all the energy everybody has left. But we have an amazing, amazing thing. And our Bible readings today remind us that God is not just granting wishes from heaven. He's walking with us through the good, through the bad, through the ugly, if you're a Clint Eastwood friend, and laughs at the jokes. We are, and our texts remind us that God walks with us, telling us, saying to us, Talitha, get up. Walk even when it's hard. Share the joy. Remember the journey. Have faith. Be filled with hope and love and peace. And be a part. Be a part of the relationship. Because we are not alone. And that is truly, truly an amazing thing.